no Michigan. We tapped in with Djsnoop and he told us to spin again. Can't get off that hit again. I see watch no Michigan. Live from the backyard. The backyard, live from the backyard, 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 hey the backyard, live from the backyard, the backyard, live from the backyard, the backyard.
Yeah. What it do, y'all? We live for Bama Backyard. I'm your host, Djsnoop, and I got two special guests with me tonight. We got
Curtis Metcalf, host of Fresh on My Fresh podcast, based in Mobile, Alabama. Talk about some down south hip hop, y'all.
And we got
Arianna. They also call me R.E. I am a social justice and political organizer. I'm based and native to Mobile, Alabama, baby.
That what's up. So what brought y'all out here tonight to Rap Function?
Well, Rap Function is what brought us out tonight. Oh man,
The extravaganza. The big one.
So big, he put extravaganza on it. Shout out to Ali Kazam.
Ali.
And Tim.
And Tim OG. Both of them are behind some of the dopest platforms for hip hop in the city. As I said before, Ali has a Rap Function, and Tim OG has it's a dope ass show.
Yeah. And that should be dope as fuck. Both of them dope as fuck. And shout out to both of them.
Yeah.
The monthly venues for local artists to really promote their talent, to develop their craft. They're really creating that platform, and I show up and I appreciate that shit.
Straight up. Straight up.
So what brought you to the career in the social justice?
Oh, wow. So I'm Arianna. MacArthur is my name. They call me R.E. Arianna Elizabeth is my full name, but bam. So I'm a native of Mobile. I work in the social justice movement. I work in the movement for the people. This is like the 20th century movement for our rights, following up to, all the things that were going on in the 60s. I stepped into this honestly with who was
Take your time. Take your time.
Nah, I'm being real. It was Fonte. Hold on. Can we pause? We live? But no. Oh wow, I'm
I
bad
told you
with
in the
names.
backyard. You're in the backyard.
Pull up. I gotta look at them on Facebook.
Oh yeah. You
That's
gotta
my
look
dog.
at them. Yeah,
But it was my homeboy, my dog. He is a producer. He's a recorder out of Mobile. I was actually going to school in New Orleans. He was producing Mobile. I came back here. He was doing this shit, and I tried to learn how to do that. It was not my thing, but I've always supported him. And then when I came back to Mobile, I just supported the music. I've always been a fan of the arts, and I feel like the arts and the culture, it has a real direct impact on the social justice movement. Because as we're celebrating 50 years of hip hop, we're also celebrating 60 years of, the whole civil rights movement. Okay. So I feel like that was a pioneer for us to be able to put our culture on that platform, for us to be able to express ourselves as Black people, for these avenues to be able to even come out. It was a result of the whole fight for our rights. Yeah. So I feel like I'm honestly, even beyond that, I'm just a fan of the arts. I love the art. I like to go to art museums. I love stuff like this. I like rap. I love music. I be in my car with my radio turned up to the max, like, pew, 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 pew. I be with it. So, I'm a big fan of the arts. And then just because of my mindset and my background, I went to school and I majored in finance and economics. time, and I left there and I went to work in corporate finance. So I'm just very organized and I have a real corporate mindset. And then I came back to Mobile, and you know, just because I'm a fan of that, I kind of put my tools to that craft because that was what I was interested in. So bam, that's how I got here. And I work with a lot of producers in their studios. I ain't gonna drop no names because I can't call no names on top of my head, but also I ain't gonna do all that. But I've worked with different producers in their studios, just doing on the back end, organizing, helping them with their business and administrative stuff. So yeah.
So do you believe everything is working in y'all favor with the social justice? Like
no,
in the government?
I don't think it worked like that. I ain't even gonna lie to ya. I think that in the 50, 60 years, I feel like, okay, ma'am, there have always been trials and tribulations. We've always been, you know, I feel like we live in a system of white supremacy. We live in a system that is built off of racism and creating division amongst people based on your class, based on how you look. And so that honestly has always been a hindrance. There's always been a hindrance. But I feel like as Black people, we've always found ways to overcome. And those things have always been still in our culture, in the music, in the things that we brought from our motherland, and things are just within us as a people. Our music, our food, you know what I'm saying? All of those are the culture. And I think that those are the things that help us to overcome, even in the struggle, even in the fight. Like, we fight these political and legal fights, but it's really the culture, the song, like those are the things, like the poems, the literaries, like the artists, those are the people who really gave us the spirit to fight those fights and to overcome in those times of real intense struggle. And I think that continues until today. And I think just, you know, having people, I think that was really the beginning of it. Like, you had people who were singing the songs in the fields. Mm-hmm. They were singing those songs. They were singing those things that came over from their grandma and them. Yeah. They was cooking them foods that came over from their grandma and them. Yeah. They cooking the rices and the ham hocks and the chitlins and the turkey necks. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are things I think that are instilled in our spirit, and I think that is a part of what allows us to continue to be persistent, and that allows us to continue to overcome in these fights and these struggles, because it's not just the political, like, it's a real spiritual, it's a physical struggle that we're fighting. It's not just political, it's not just economic. There's a lot of back end and basis to it. And I feel like, honestly, like, the arts and the culture has a lot of grounding in what keeps us grounding and what keeps us moving forward as people. So, did I answer your question? Oh, yeah. I don't want to hold up all the time.
Gotta get it down, gotta get it across.
So, in your opinion, like you kept saying about the music and the culture, do you believe instead of marching and protesting, they should start using their voice and the music instead?
I think it's
to make, you know, something happen. Because marching, you know, ain't nothing going on with that. They just marching and protesting and never get resolved. Same thing, always keep happening over and over and over.
I think it's a both and. I will say, so when I first came back to Mobile, I came back to Mobile in the onslaught of the Michael Moore murder. Mm-hmm. And Michael Moore was a young teenage. I think Michael Moore was like 17, 18, maybe 19 years old.
Somewhere.
Black man. He was murdered by a police officer. I don't get into all details in the allegations, but you can go back and read that. Before that, it was Michael Donald, who had been like slightly before I was born. I think Michael Donald happened in 1990. I was born in 1991. And so, like, to even think about it, lynchings were still happening in the 90s, in the period when I was born. But all that to say,
let me slide something in there with that right quick. I was a baby when Michael Donald was lynched. He was the last black man to be lynched in America, and that happened like 81.
Allegedly.
81, yeah. I mean, all right. So, yeah, I just want to add that tidbit in that second.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it back.
So, hold on, go back to the question.
Do you believe they should have used their voice and music instead of marching?
Oh, okay, great. So, bam. So that's what brought me to what I was saying. So when I got back to Mobile, we were doing all these protests. We was going to city council meetings, and that's how I got really involved in just the social and what was going on in Mobile, going to city council meetings, and we're doing all these protests and things. And I remember at one protest that happened, we walked up and down 45 in Thomasville, and I stopped everybody and said, hey, do y'all think this is actually effective and this is what we should be doing in this period of time, like in this century of time? I think that, honestly, as the revolution evolves, knowing what we're really up against, being white supremacy, being capitalism, being imperialism, like these aren't things that just were happening then, these are things that have trickled down to now. And so at that point in time, yeah, we were doing marches, we were doing all these things. It was with I ain't trying to give up with names on the spot because I can't even remember who I'm finna say. But I will say, I don't think that, I think that protests and marches have their place.
They do.
I think that, so we were doing a lot of stuff during Michael Moore. Was it effective in small ways? Did we get the things that we were trying to achieve? No, not really. Because honestly, I think that when you start to do those things, like, here's the difference between now and what was happening in the 60s. And I think a lot of people romanticize the 60s because we were able to achieve a lot of, like, we got real bills passed, like, that gave us real legal and political freedoms to do certain things as people of color that we did not have before. And I think that is an advancement. Those are things that we should be progressing towards. Like having, like, I think the law is what establishes your reality and how you are able to move as a person. So when you are able to affect the law, that affects your reality. And so a lot of times we are dismissive of that, but in reality, like, that is what governs us. And to say that doesn't matter, it does have a big place. It's not the only place. There are a lot of ways that we can make change, but a lot of it does start from, do we even have the legal capability to do this thing, to carry out this thing? Do we have the capacity to do that legally? So bam, I feel like there were a lot of achievements made in the 60s, and we tend to romanticize that period as a people. In present tense, do protests and things have their place? They do have their place, but you have to be grounded in the why and what you're trying to achieve. And I don't think a lot of people, when they go out to do those things, they're not really grounded in what they are going out to achieve. And they don't have the sustainability, they don't have the capacity to withstand that. Because the whole, like, the bus riders movement with Rosa Parks and them, that was months when they were boycotting the buses. That wasn't just no 5-day week. That wasn't just no 30 days. That was months when they were boycotting, like, economics. Honestly, like, economics is a real basis of the shit, because we live in a capitalistic system. Yeah. So all the things is really based in, how do we disrupt capitalism? How do we disrupt the flow of capital? How do we pull capital towards us and pull it away from the ruling class? Yeah. Especially when, like, we live in a classist system. It ain't even about racism so much as it's about classism. The people in power want to remain in power, and they rely on manipulating lower classes of people. They rely on putting people in position of labor so that they can profit off of that. And when you're not knowledgeable to know that that's where you are in the system, even if you are knowledgeable to know, the thing is, a lot of people know, but they don't even have a lot of people are stuck in a mode of survival where they don't have the capacity It's not that they don't even know, it's that they don't have the capacity to even think beyond their circumstances, because it's like, okay, I know where I'm at, but how do I compete against the monster that is capitalism? How am I supposed to go against the grain when they're gonna take my job? They're gonna take everything that feed me. They're gonna take everything that feed my kids. Then what am I left to depend on? A lot of people are afraid of that. I mean, you can't be mad at people. And honestly, like in the movements of the 60s, it wasn't masses of people and everybody. It was small groups of people who were doing things to advance all of us. And that's what it takes. In present day, small groups of people, you know what the fuck going on. You got the capacity, you got the time, you got the resources. Everybody don't have the same means. Maybe you got the time, but you don't have the resource. Maybe you got the resource, but you ain't got the time. Maybe you got the knowledge, but you ain't got all the other shit. Like, bro, we need to bring it together when you bring it together. And this is where the arts and the culture come in. The artists and the culture have the capacity to, like, you have the capacity to resonate with the people. So you bring people into the movement who might not have been knowledgeable. But, I heard this song, like, bro, NWA, they talking about fuck the police. Now they hear boofing talking about fuck the police. You know what I'm saying? That resonate with the people. Right. And yo, I'm showing up because nigga, I resonate with that. And fuck them and fuck them. They talking about, what you mean? Look, I might can't say that, but Boosie said that shit, so yo, fuck what they talking about. So artists have the platform to pull people into the movement, and they have like, the art speaks to what they say, it speaks to your reality. And the reality is it's a exhibition of the arts, and the arts is the exhibition of reality. Like, it goes hand in hand. It's like the art speaks to the reality of the conditions, at the same time, it's art imitates reality, and reality imitates art. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Bam! It all goes hand in hand. So, to get back to your point, yes, protests and all those things have a place in today, but people have to recognize what they are trying to achieve. And what they need to know is, honestly, I ain't gonna say it's just economic. It's multi-layered at this point. Because, hey, if the artists can come together and they can pull people into a knowledgeable position, they can pull people into this momentum of movement, then we can have other people on the other side who will say, hey, and now that y'all know what y'all need to do, this is what we're doing. Like, we need to have a strategy. Like, we need to have more strategy. Everybody needs to know the role that they play, but arts and culture and entertainment does have a role in this space.
What's up? That what's up. So, a major question. Why does it take social justice to bring black people together?
Woo! And listen,
you another.
It's not. Listen. It's not social justice that is what brings people together. Our conditions and our experiences is what brings us together. Our experiences bind us. We all know we done lived in the projects, we done been broke, we know we in poverty. You know, I got my mama, your mama working multiple jobs. Like, our experiences are what binds us. Social justice is just it's more of the political mechanism, and it's more than that. It's like your experiences are what binds you. Arts and culture is what inspires you to take action. And sometimes that's what sometimes a lot of people are in the circumstances, but they don't know it from a political lens. Like, they don't know how to say that. They don't know the language to really portray what I'm experiencing to legislators and people who are making those decisions. But we know that we living in these conditions. Everybody know this. The common thing is we all know we living in these conditions. We poor, we broke, everybody working multiple jobs, we got minimum wage, we ain't got health care, your mama died of diabetes because the food fucking sucks. Like, we know this shit. We got fucking hospitals, fucking dialysis centers, they got alcohol things on every fucking corner.
You got
churches on every fucking corner. Yeah, plasma centers. The experience is what unites us, not the movement. The experience unites us. The movement is what activates people. Because a lot of times, like I said, when you're living in the experience, you ain't got the time, you ain't got the capacity, you ain't got the resources to fight against capitalism. Like, capitalism and white supremacy is a whole fucking thing. People ain't got the resources to fight against it. But that don't mean we're not living in that shit. You're living in it. But to fight against it is a whole other thing. And a lot of times what I hear from people today is, shit, I ain't trying to die like Malcolm. I ain't trying to die like fucking Martin. Niggas ain't trying to die for that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can know that I'm poor and I'm living in dire consequences, but shit, I ain't trying to die for it. I'll continue living in it, but I'll continue suffering in my suffering because that's the only way I know to live. A lot of people who, especially like in the project, hold on. Here's the thing about a lot of places in Alabama and in the South. We still live in very segregated spaces. Alabama ain't no different really from what it has been. When you look at the maps, black people still live in the same places they've been living in. Our wages compared to what they were, we making less. Shit. We got less wealth than what we had. So like, reality is our conditions aren't really changing for us. But we have to be able to band together. Like I said, the arts and the culture are ways that people can really speak and inspire to people's conditions. And to really make them feel like they got an outlet. Like, I can't say this, but that nigga can say that shit. Boots can say that shit. Lil Baby can say that shit. That whole record, the Lil Baby, man, that shit was woo. Everybody was woo, woo, woo. That's what we need artists to do. Like, you can inspire people to feel like, hey, these are my conditions, but even though I can't speak to it, you can. And I'm looking to you because you got more means than me. And even people, and even artists in those positions, they don't really have, honestly, when you look at artists, historically, black artists have been extorted. They done took their money. They done played on their talent. You know what I'm saying? They done drink. Can't say that, what I kill? That's my dog. Put him. Reality is, it's so, like, him, and a lot of, it's sad because a lot of black artists, like, historically, like, blues, like, grassroots black artists, they died in fucking poverty. Because the industry stole from them. Yep. They used their talent and they stole from them. So we also have to find ways to, like, how do we make sure that we are monetize, like, how do we, like, everything honestly is about how do we do things in a way that is economically fair for everybody, so that we're not monetizing on a class and a group of people, because that's what happens to black people. We're used as entertainment in a lot of these spaces. Yeah. And then we're silenced for our voices. So how do we create spaces where we are actually able to monetize our talents and we're able to utilize that for our own advancement as a people? Like, that shit is important. In order for that to happen, like, we gotta support us, but we also have to get out of the industrial complex. We gotta know that we got the skill sets, we got the mindsets, we got the fucking talent. We can find some fucking people. We got the talent. We can fucking figure that other shit out. We ain't gotta rely on the Jews, we ain't gotta rely on the white people, we ain't gotta rely on the other folks. Give us the shit. We got the talent. We can utilize that, but also it has to be in coordination. A lot of times, like, the artists have to be willing to work with people in the social justice movement, in the organizing spaces, to say, hey, how can we politicize the message? Because we was talking about fuck the police. And they cut that shit down. Like all those messages that was coming out from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, bam, all those messages turned to what we're hearing now. And like we all know that music and all those things have a big impact on your mental and your psychology, because these are messages that you're constantly hearing, and they know that. So they weaponize things against us, and that shit happens constantly. That's a part of the fucking, that's a part of the fucking system. They weaponize us against ourselves. So we have to learn how to use our own talents as weapons for us, and to be able to monetize that as an economic vehicle, because the money in the capitalistic system is fucking important. If we can find ways to, turn our own shit into fucking money, into enterprise, and to create money from our own shit, and to support our own social justice fucking movements, bro. We got all the fucking ingredients, dog. They just keep on goddamn uprooting us from the fucking roots. But we got the shit. We got the blueprint and all that shit right here.
gotta give it applause on that one.
Right. Man.
A lot of what she's saying, I was gonna say. Especially when you get in depth about just black artists in the blues, just in any genre that black people have put their hands in. We always innovated. We always changed the game for the better, and other people have benefited off of it because I lack of knowledge about what industry we in. We just know how to play music. At first, we just know how to play music. All that was a part of the culture. Somebody comes along, takes a little piece of this, runs away with it, and then goes expand it for their own. They made their own creation out of it. Yeah. We recognize what it is. Like, you got this from over here. That ain't what this is over here. Right. So why can't we get a fair shake on that? And it goes on and on, from the blues, jazz, corporate America, they have their own heroes or whatever. So this person's gonna be on the cover of whatever magazine, whatever music magazine, Rolling Stone or whatever. They the first to do this when this man is over here penniless, not recognized for his talent, and been on the chitlin circuit forever. We get to hip hop. We get to talking about 50 years of hip hop.
And the whole popular culture.
It's to sell it. It's to sell it. Like, hip hop is the culture. It ain't never needed no big marquee to sell something. It's just been wherever, it was like a meteor hit the planet or whatever, and it hit this place first. Somebody that lived here moved from here, or a bunch of people migrated and went over here with it, or just went wherever the trail left them, it came to the South.
Right.
Can't nobody from the East Coast say they don't have no cousins or relatives in the South. Your great grannies is from here.
Right.
Yeah. Now people have, I know personally, like some New York people said that, my mama was born in Madison, Alabama. She was a school teacher and moved to Boston or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of disconnect as far as like the hip hop story getting told. Yeah. I'd heard personally from people out in the West Coast, LA, saying hip hop didn't start for us like it did in New York. And their story has yet to be told like it is, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But since we're talking about the South, you got to talk about how Atlanta was a hub for not just New York, because there's certain people that played their part. MC Shy D, he got signed to Loot Records. Luke Skywalker back in the day, and he's from the Bronx. Matter of fact, he's Africa Bambaata's cousin or whatever.
Oh, bro.
Little John learned how to do beats from Beatmaster Clay D down in Miami. He brought it back to Atlanta. He made Social Def All-Stars in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of stuff that fell through the cracks as far as like Southern rap history that just don't get recognized. Either it sold a whole bunch of records, they got played out and nobody listens to anymore, or something got stole from us and somebody else gets recognized for it. Just like how now, a lot of name somebody from the East Coast like A$AP Rocky. A lot of artists like that love Southern rap.
Yeah.
They pattern their style after it. They make the same records.
Hold on.
That's why the South taking over right now, because
Wait.
everybody from New York sound like the South.
It's a
Wait.
and it's a chart you could go by. Hold on, let me get this out.
Okay, great.
As far as Southern rap, we'd have had like numerous breakthroughs. I'll just name a couple. When the Ghetto Boys dropped Mine's Playing Tricks on Me, and it hit the high chart on Billboard or whatever. That's one of the first times the South got recognized like real seriously. Like the Ghetto Boys made you like on the same tip about you was talking about NWA, fuck the police and Boosie and stuff like that.
And
It was that impactful.
Oh yeah.
Who did the Sugar Hill Gang shit? Who did that? That was in the.
What you talking about, Rappers Delight or something like that?
Yeah, who was that?
That was Sugar Hill Gang.
I'm saying that was in the North or that was in the South?
That was they was out of New Jersey, so yeah, you're
Okay.
up north and stuff like.
But bam, I'm gonna bring it all together. Go ahead.
So I throw in Outkast when they drop with Players Ball and Southern Players. Listen, that was another one. That was another one that set the high standard. They finished out 94 going into 95 having a platinum album and being somewhat celebrated at the Source Awards. You know how the South got something to say, and it really did because the reason he said that was we had a lot of down talk on us, a lot of suppression on us. For a long time, it was like you can't come out the South rapping. You got to be from LA or from New York.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why couldn't be dope music across the board? Right. It was country. It was country. It was a whole lot of pushback.
They say we too country.
Yeah,
Right.
they said that. Yeah.
But even back then, the records these artists was putting out records that was outselling folks on the East and the West Coast.
But the thing
Well, go ahead.
there was no market for us because we weren't seen as black people
seen economically
weren't seen
viable.
Yeah. White people was buying that shit, and white people wasn't buying our shit. White people wasn't investing in our shit, so there was no market. There was no viable market seen from them to invest in that.
For the South.
Who fought listening to this?
For the South to be on its own like that. Like the music capital is like in New York. You got like maybe 4 or 5 different record labels. The biggest record labels like
They did.
RCA, Sony, and all of them is right there. It's right there in New York. Out there in LA, they have like what you have Motown, or MCA, folks like that.
What's happening in the South in Detroit?
They had that. Okay, Motown started in Detroit, but
D,
they
don't
sold.
do the D.
But sir, I ain't gonna leave Detroit out there like that because they
Still in the South.
They started out like the South too, like independent.
Yeah, they did.
Independent.
Even though
They made. Go ahead.
they black as fuck.
Yeah, black owned too.
They started up in the northern, but they.
But Barry Gordy on that level knew.
From the South.
Right.
Cause he was in the Chitlin circuit with Aretha and them in the motherfucking South.
and
You
how many-
goddamn right he was.
Now, how many artists from the South that was on? That you know
Motown.
that was on Motown?
The Temptations, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And all of them.
David Ruffin. David Ruffin was I don't want to get it wrong.
The
Was he from
Supremes.
Birmingham? He was from Alabama. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So
Here's why I'm at here. The whole.
No, Paul and
Paul Williams, yeah,
Paul
that's what-
Williams and
yeah.
the other guy.
and the other guy, I don't.
David
They from
Ruffin.
Alabama.
Yeah.
They from Alabama.
I think Otis. Was it Otis?
No, one of the oldest. He was
No.
the main.
See, I got a friend who schools me on this, and I listen to Temptations, but I ain't getting all that deep off into it. But you did have folks that like
What I'm
migrated
say is
Yeah.
do other customs,
the whole
get up there,
coast
and then
from
be a part of that.
Right.
the south to the north were coastal ports where black enslaved people were dropped off
Yeah.
into plantation. So the whole, again, all of this culture of song and this whole rhythm and the beat came from black people. It was a coastal thing that went from the south to the north.
To the, yeah.
It was a connected thing. We can say it was born in the South and all that, but these things were connected because we were all dropped off in these ports, all the way from Alabama to Virginia to New Jersey to New York. Those are all coastal places. So that's what connects us to
The ports. Yeah.
That's what connects us to the culture.
But actually, the main question is, why was it only the hip hop that was seen like that? Because the pop, the R&B, it generated everywhere, no problem. But when it came to the rap and hip hop,
I can answer that.
It was only north.
I can answer that one. The music that we was naming before, the blues, rock, jazz, R&B. All of that was put up on that level to where you had to be a professional, you had to be professional trained or whatever. It didn't belong to a certain landmass or a certain corner of a region of the land, you know what I'm saying? With hip hop, that shit was bragging rights. Yeah, we got the live shit over here. So we saying it every day, every minute, every hour. Somebody over here says, our shit's popping better than y'all. Somebody comes in the middle and say, you want to battle to settle the score, see who is better? It's the competitive nature. It's the competitive nature of creative people who do music. And it's a way, my fault, you're not getting away from the cultural movements that came before, your jazz, your blues and everything, because hip hop is a little child to it. It is.
Yeah.
Blues and jazz birthed every music movement in the United States.
Yeah.
It did all that. With hip hop, you get a lot of the truth and you get a lot of the problems that comes in that world. You know what I'm saying? With hip hop,
That part.
you
just got a lot of backlash. So it's like, bam, you birthing all of this music from classical music of the Europeans. And then they had the jazz music and like, oh, that's nice.
You had to learn
And then
that.
they had the blues that was like, and the grunge. And then you had the hip hop. They ain't know what to do with that.
What was the
and
main
that was
thing?
real black as fuck.
Black
That's
ass
what it
music.
was. It was black.
Yes.
As fuck. We don't know white people singing no motherfucking hip hop. That was that pop shit. And
But-
white people was trying to co-opt black shit into pop shit. They was taking black music and turning it into pop shit to make it more susceptible.
But you can't forget country too, though.
Oh, well,
Because
look.
black man started the country music.
That too. And then, see, that's what I'm saying. They had to whitewash. All of history has been whitewashed.
And you had to go and dig it
They had
up.
to whitewash
It's there.
our shit to make it more mainstream. That's where
Or
popular
acceptable.
culture, all that shit come in. Cause they was like, oh shit, this nigga, he sound good down here in these fields. Niggas sound good in these fields, these country fields. Look. We can't put that shit on the radio, but we gonna put a white man voice to it, and we gonna give it a little up, and then bam, that's gonna sell. They can't sell the black people shit. That's why I said that's why I said it all goes back to economics. Cause them people in the industry are thinking about what can they sell.
What can they
And at
sell?
the
What's gonna
moment,
sell?
White people got money, black people got no money. So they're thinking about what can they sell. The people in the pop industry, you know what I'm saying? The pop industry at this time is booming because white culture is booming with the Industrial Revolution. All of that shit is booming. They got money, so they send their children to proms and they got all this money to put into white shit, but they can't put black people's face, even though black people are the inventors of the shit. We can't say black people, we can't put black people's face on this shit. We can't put no black people out there in the pop market. So bam, they got to spin that shit with like they did. They took black people's shit and they put white people pop faces on and they put some do-do-do-do-wop-pop-pop on some black people's shit with the blues and sold that shit to white markets because they wasn't gonna buy black people's shit. Even if they like the music. So, guess what? I ain't seen that white nigga face on that shit. The fuck you so much? Fuck you so much. I'm not finna have my daughter no whoop whoop in the mirror to no white nigga. Shit, nigga, no. Fuck you so much. So yeah, they had to, for economic reasons, they had to co-opt all of that black culture and that black shit that was going on. Mm-hmm. And because black people did not have the means, we didn't have the political infrastructure to do our own shit, even though we had markets, we had black markets. Because we saw that we had black markets. We had Def Comedy Jam. We had, bro, that was a fucking explosion. In the 90s, that was a fucking explosion of a black culture, of a black hip hop shit, black movies, black fucking culture. All that shit exploded in the 90s. They couldn't, it wasn't the basis of the art, it was fucking economics. And that's what capitalism does. They take your shit. You know what I'm saying? They co-opted our shit because guess what? That wasn't cool for my white daughter to be dancing to in the motherfucking mirror. Nigga, no. She got to be dancing to some doo-wop, do-bop shit. Not no the board shit with the woo-woo. Look, the board is our shit. Look. And Michael Jackson, you know what I'm saying? They was, even though they created this whole inter-segregation and shit, that shit was false. Segregation was an economic mechanism for white people to fucking make money. Because guess what? If they did not segregate it, that was still gonna be the case. If we had not segregated, segregation was gonna happen naturally anyway because black people were gonna find their own economic system outside of white supremacy. If white supremacy had kept continuing, guess what? Black people, and we did, and that is why, that is the whole basis of why they had to come up with segregation. It's because guess what? It was all about the fucking money because it all built on capitalism. If black people would have kept on, they were like, guess what? Well, black people can make their own money. They can start their own system. They can create their own shit.
That's what
they can make their own money.
That's what they
but guess what? Bam! They had to create a system whereby we were inferior. So boom. That's how pop culture got built. Pop culture got built on black culture, bitch. Don't play that. Pop culture got built on that.
Don't play on our
top. Pop culture, all that shit. MC and motherfucking who? All them man, MC and backstage. Who the boys was?
Talk about Jay-Z?
Nah. The B2K, what they was? The
B2K?
No, not B2K. That was black.
Bump.
Backstreet Boys.
Oh.
Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Backstreet Boys, I swear to God, they was singing black people songs.
They wasn't nothing but another edition, new edition.
And they was white. And that's what I'm saying. White people wouldn't have had no motherfucking foundation. They wouldn't have no basis to build on if it weren't for fucking black people. Mm-hmm. Black people was the center of agriculture in the fucking South. They wouldn't have had no, what the fuck they was going, nigga, they wasn't building no peas. They know how to build no peas. They know how to build no collard green. Man, I swear to fucking God. White people. What? If you look in the history documents, white people said they brought slaves to America because guess what? They couldn't do their own shit. So they had to bring the black people to fuck. And this is what I'm telling you. The culture and the artistic shit is built out of that same shit. White people wouldn't have that. White people had no fucking rhythm. White people had a rhythm. They had that classical shit. They had some classical do. And guess what? Mozart arguably was a black man. Exactly. So you got a black man coming into your white sphere doing better than what you did. Nigga, I'm on the keys. Nigga, nigga on the keys better than you. Nigga doing better than what you can do. I'm talking about putting rhythm to your white ass, bland ass bullshit. Now what the fuck y'all telling us? Oh, No.
No, you can't do that.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
That's what I'm saying. That's where that shit come from. Cause white people was bland as fuck, lazy as fuck. No.
This is why Ron DeSantis wants to do what he do in Florida right now. He wants to, critical race theory. He don't want none of that stuff being taught in school.
That's what I'm saying, because white people know. White people was bland as fuck before black people came. And that's exactly why black culture, black arts and shit matters, because we got that shit that pop. We got that shit that pop.
It's always
Bitch, that was born as fuck.
It's always
and then
happening.
black people came and gave it a little, and they were like, what is that? They got Mozart touring across the country. The black man, we can't tell them they black, we gotta tell them they white though. We gotta whitewash every fucking thing, because they know black people gave everything that fucking
flavor.
That little, exactly. And everything that black people touch, they gotta white fucking wash it. Cause they can't take that shit. The fuck? They can't get you say nothing. They gotta say nothing else. Bro, what the fuck? That's what I'm talking about. Bro. Black people brought that and white people had to find a way to capitalize on their shit. So now guess what? We gotta take all that black culture, we gotta turn it into pop. We gotta, let me get your rhymes. Let me get your, what are you gonna do? Put a little pump in it.
Yeah.
Put a little white voice on it. And then we got some pop culture. And then y'all shit, so white people can buy pop, y'all people can buy that hip hop shit. We ain't found no lane for that shit, but why y'all people can buy that pop, whatever that shit is? Our people gonna buy this proper shit. Proper. That's what pop stand for. Proper culture.
Proper.
We still in the British. We the proper term.
Tea and crumpets.
And y'all the hip hoppity pop. For real, no, look, we like the proper shit, look. And now we don't listen to hip hop shit. The fuck? We listen to pop. Or you listen to classical shit. You might listen to some jazz music. As long as it wasn't made by no nigga. That's what I'm talking about. That's where culture comes in, because literally our culture and our arts is a threat to their culture, because their shit is built on our shit. They built their shit on our shit. They stole our shit. They been stealing the pyramids.
Oh, now you wanna go there.
They been stealing our shit to build their shit. So bam.
Now you go.
How could they sit up and say, oh my God, we're gonna validify hip hop and black culture, when they done made a whole theme of popular culture, which is fucking white culture, which basically they done took black culture and put white face to that shit. Y'all seen all them fucking movies? Y'all seen all them movies where they took black fucking shit and then put fucking what is this? Okay, y'all had to take the rhythm out of it. Cause we been there, and honestly, okay, here's a whole other thing I'ma tie to this, is the whole spiritual thing. It's because we're not just in a physical and economic, this shit is really built off of spiritual warfare. They stole when they came and took over our tribes in African lands, they took our spirituality. And that's what took us as a people, because they took our spirituality. That's that deep connection that you have to the earth and all these things. So once they take over your spirit, they take over you. That's why people be like, you got white Jesus And that's now, that becomes your idol. And they're like, idol, and then they say, idolism is a motherfucking sin. Yeah, because guess what? Because you start idolizing a black Jesus, nigga. But yes, they stole our whole spiritualism. And our music and our culture is tied to us as a spirit, as black people. That is a part of, like, as black people cultures, the drumming and the whole, like, all of those things, like, that is a part of us. And that's what you hear when you hear our music. All of those things are things that come up. So they've literally stolen our whole culture as a people. So man, when they go back to all that, they took our fucking culture, nigga. They didn't program us into that pop. Nigga, elevator music. They done took our culture. And us, as a thematic people, like they've talked, because African people talk we talk in tongues fucking naturally. Yeah. They be talking about tongues in fucking churches. That's how we talk naturally throughout it. That's what we talk with that type of dialect. But they stole all of that shit from us. And then they try to reframe that shit like,
and sell it back too. And sell it the same shit. I got a thing.
And Catholicism and shit.
I got a thing.
And pop culture and shit. Yeah.
I got a saying.
I
have a saying.
Shit from
what she just said.
Because we're really, we're rhythmatic people. Yes, we vibe off of our vibes, our tribes. How we speak is a tongual language. Like, they took all of that from us and they made us speak the Queen Sweet James English.
It's a code.
And they turned all of our music into that bullshit. Nigga. I think deep down people resonate and people know. Even our food. All of our food is slave food. We eat chitlins and the scraps and shit, and like we eat the collard greens and cabbages and carrots. Like, we have our things that are based in vegetation, but our people are based in that. Like, we ate the fruit of the fucking earth.
Yes.
We're hunters and gatherers.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't eat that bullshit. They fed us that shit, and now like, that is, for us, that's our fucking food. It's not our fucking food.
Not our food.
That's what they gave us to eat.
Not even our
that's
nutrition.
what we rely on. Chitlins and pork skins, and we gotta put the fuck and all this shit. No, bro.
Chicken and watermelon.
You know what I'm saying?
Busting up the shoot, yeah.
My granddad grew up raising watermelon. I feel like watermelons, yellow watermelon. Watermelon is the fruit of the earth. That's what I'm saying. Like, we grew up raised on the fruits of the earth.
Yes.
In rationalities, also we knew how to rationalize with Mother Earth, because you can't just take from the earth. You
got to give
grow.
something back.
Now we have these industrial plantations, Monsanto and shit, they just growing and growing and growing and growing. No, bro, that's not. You got agricultural, you grow in the seasons. Yes, we have seasons when we eat these types of fruits. Mm-hmm. But we got seasons where we eat different types of fruits, different types of vegetables. We wasn't eating meat like that.
Nah.
But now we eat that shit like ham hock, turkey meat. We eat chicken man, we eating pig heart, we eating pig. And it feel like that's your diet. That's not our fucking diet.
And everything got
white
chemicals.
People diet.
They done pump the chemicals in these animals.
all of this shit. And they make that shit natural. But at the same time, in France, in European nations, and other nations, their food isn't even how they regulate their food. Like, we got the FDA. How they regulate their food in other nations is not even the fucking same.
Oh,
like, we got so many poisons and things in our food that Europe wouldn't even allow in their fucking food.
You're
and that's not
abandoning
no black, white shit. That's like literally like.
Yeah, government looking after their people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Somebody had to put a stop to it. That somebody had to put a standard, a real living
America
standard
don't
for where
have
people
those
can
standards
eat.
because America is built off of capitalism and imperialism and white fucking nationalism. They don't give a fuck.
USA Incorporated.
I'm sorry, they gonna kill me after this shit. Look, I crossed my Hail Saint Mary and Jesus, Lord, don't kill me.
Long as it ain't white Jesus. You know?
I'm telling y'all though, this real shit.
Yeah.
And look, our culture has a real place in uplifting these things because as artists. And I honestly, I used to come in my artist friends, I used to be like, bruh, you got to tell the truth from your experience. Like, if that's your experience, that's your experience. Like, what is the difference between, as an artist, telling your truth and the truth? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you, like, differentiate? Because I feel like, as an artist, with a platform, you have a responsibility. For the people in the back, as a fucking artist, there's a distinguishment. What is the difference between telling your truth and telling the truth?
Message.
Because, I mean, yes, tell your truth. Speak your story. All of art is a story.
Because you went through it.
At the same time, like, where is the part about the upliftment of the people? And maybe that's not everybody's place. Maybe that's not everybody's role. But even in your own story, like, but everybody ain't even cognizant. And I can't, like, that's the thing. Like, it's hard because, like, everybody ain't cognizant enough to even pull that out of your own story. Because it takes time. It took time for me.
I was about to say
it
that.
took time for me to even realize from my own story, like, what is the story? Like, this is my story, but how does this story relate to the historical story? How does this story relate to what is going to be my grandchildren, my children in perpetuities? Like, I'm living in this period for a reason. We're all living in this period for a reason. We're all living in this existence, in this time, for a reason, is what I believe. And I'm saying, if you're gonna be an artist, if you're gonna be a creative, I think I'm creative even though I'm not no rapper. I don't paint shit. I think I could if I put that time into it. But I'm saying that's just not, I'm an organizer. And I feel like being an organizer is a craft, it is an art. Like, I have to think about a lot of things when I'm pulling together organizing. Like, I have to do a lot of things. But even still, as an organizer, like, you can say, like, bro, I'm just trying to tell my motherfucking story. But in telling your story, and bam, maybe that might be the initial. I'm telling my story, but you gotta be able to put your story in context of the history of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, bro,
Yeah.
you're not just you. I'm not just me. I'm living for me. I'm living for motherfucking Harriet. I'm living for motherfucking every woman that has came before me, my grandmothers. All my grandparents dead. But damn it, they live in me. Like, yo, I feel like in this day, I am the living embodiment of them. Yeah. And I don't know everything they went through, but I can just fucking imagine knowing the times that they went through. Even if I didn't fucking know, like, bro, like, you have to, at some point, you gotta grow up. We all gotta grow up. We all gotta grow up. I ain't gonna lie. We all gotta grow up no matter how much we don't want to. We all have to grow up. And I had to put myself in the context of time and realize, like, yo, bro, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for fucking certain black ass women who put their lives on the line. Black men who put their fucking lives on the line for me to be here free existing in this period of time, doing what the fuck I'm doing, I ain't have to be here. I could be a slave. And that shit ain't nothing to think about. Like, I could be a fucking slave. And nigga don't think about what that would be like. You think your shit easy. Like, nigga, no. This shit could be much harder than that. And nigga don't think about that. Just because we're privileged. We're privileged because we stand on the back of so many motherfucking people who put their lives on the fucking line. Like, I live this fucking privilege only because of so many fucking phones, dog. I wouldn't even be able to say this shit that I'm fucking saying right now. My head could have been chopped. And that's what I'm saying, like, people, that's the part that culture and arts play. Like, bro, you only able to say this shit that you say freely on these airlines and these folks shit because there's so many people who stood fucking for you to be able to do that shit. And you have to live in, like, you have to have some responsibility to that shit.
Amen.
You gotta be like, yo, bro, I wouldn't even be able to say this shit if a nigga had came up on me and said some bold ass shit. And guess what? That nigga got his head chopped off. That nigga ain't gonna pop.
Yeah.
Nigga mounted the fuck down for saying the same shit that I'm saying right now. Guess what? A bitch got her head chopped off. What? And you gotta, like, you have to be able to stand in that shit as black people. As us. You have to be able to say, yo, I'm only here today because of somebody the fuck else. And if you can't respect that shit, then I swear to God, there's somebody to chop your hair down. Oh God. Somebody to chop you down because you don't respect and you don't honor where you came from, your ancestors' wildest fucking achievements. And I think that shit every fucking day. Like, bro, like I said, all my grandparents are dead at this point. So I'm like, bro, I can only think my granddaddy was a slave. My daddy's parents were slaves, sharecroppers. Both of my grandparents, all of my grandparents, they grew food so well. Like, I can only believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, in hearing history, you can only believe. And even if it wasn't my immediate grandparents, bitch, that was my great-granddaddy, my great-grandmother. What the fuck you mean? Like, that was my great-great-great-great-great-great. I can't even, like, you playing with them. Like, I'm not finna play on them fuck like that. That means a lot to me. And I maybe don't mean a lot to other people, but, bro, every craft, skill, anything that you have today, that shit came from some fucking where.
Yes.
That shit ain't just come out of nowhere. It was somebody 2-3 generations before you who had that same fucking skill, and they, because of the times that they were in, they weren't able to realize that shit. They weren't able to commercialize shit out the way that you are today. And you gotta give homage, bro. You gotta give homage to that shit. I don't give a fuck. You have to give homage to that, period. Cause it's somebody who paved the way, who laid the way, who gave their fucking life, who goddamn took the They wrote Harry Tubman from goddamn Alabama to Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So your ass be able to doing what you doing the motherfucking day, and I swear to God. I swear to God. If you don't give homage to them fucking folks, that's some bullshit, bro.
Right, straight up.
Cause
straight up.
somebody gave their life, like real shit, on the run. Even if they ain't run, do you know how hard it is for you to sit knowing you in slavery and you can't do shit about it, and all your children gonna be born into this shit? Like, people don't think about like, what would you do? What would I do? Cause who? I might run, I ain't gonna lie, I might be harried, I might run, but bitch, you might sit there and say, hey,
for everyone, hey,
I ain't gonna mind.
What's the Harry Tubman quote?
Exactly.
I would have saved most.
Like,
I would have
everybody
rescued
ain't
more
gonna
slaves
mind.
if they realized they were slaves.
Some people will sit there and say, I'm just gonna live this out
Harriet
and
Tubman
see
was
what
different.
it fucking do.
Nat Turner
and
was
guess
different.
what?
Yep.
That's what gave birth to you and the talents that you got. Even if your ancestors weren't able to realize those talents, your ancestors might have been Billie Holiday, bitch. Oh God! And look, you out here singing the blues like it ain't shit. You out here singing like you a Blue Jay bitch, but it was somebody who was suppressed in that talent for you to be able to have what you got today. And guess what? They ain't had the same avenue. You can commercialize that shit. You can be, you can blossom. You can fly. Baby, you can be Beyonce, but your great, whoever could not. But she gave that sacrifice for you to be able to. She kept living for you to be able to, because it was easy to say, I'm gonna die. You know how many people jumped off the boat into that ocean?
Straight up.
You know how people said, fuck that shit, kill me. I'm gonna die today. So somebody kept living for you to be able to fucking live and to be able to, you know what I'm saying, realize your fucking talent. That shit didn't come from nowhere. So don't play with it. Don't play with it.
You got a question.
Where all the passion come from? For you to even just say, you know.
Well, my passion come from, man, let me see, where does it come from? My passion comes from, man, look, I'm gonna say, I only am fortunate to know my parents' parents. So like, I know my grandparents. I didn't know any of my grandparents, any of my great grandparents. I heard stories of them, but my grandparents were so strong. They were so fortified. Both of my grandmothers and my granddaddies, they knew how to grow their own food. My grandfather, like my dad's dad built my grandma's house. My mom's dad, he ain't built my grandma's house, but he fixed whatever the fuck need to be fixed in that bitch. The roof, like whole remodeled it though at a period of time. My mom's dad moved from Demopolis, Alabama, all the way. All of my grandparents moved from rural places in Alabama to Mobile, Alabama, to make better places for their families. And so, like, I don't know, I just know, shit. I came up, my parents wasn't, like, I asked my granddad about the civil rights shit, and I was like, I asked him, did he move? Did he walk over the Selma Bridge? That nigga said, I ain't walk over the bridge. He said, but I knew it was him. So it wasn't like my family wasn't they wasn't involved in the rights movement. I just recognize what people have done for me. Like my grandparents, I grew up in a country. I ain't grew up in the country, I grew up in the city for real. But I went to the country because of my daddy's family. Like I went to the country a lot. And we had to go up the country. My grandparents.
Up the country.
A lot of time when I was growing up, anytime anybody died, we went up the country.
Oh yeah, you got to go up the country.
We go up to Demopolis or to Monroeville. So like I recognize the migration of people to a city like Mobile, a port city, where people came to have more opportunity for people. And like, I mean, my daddy wasn't shit. He's like, don't put my dad up there. But my daddy was like shorts. And my mama was a real one. Honestly, I'm gonna give y'all this. When I was bad as fuck when I was in school, all the way through high school. Like I was just bad. I got suspended every year from the time I was in like 7th grade all the way through 12th grade. I got suspended every year, but I was always smart as fuck. So like they kept me in school because they was like, shit, you make our grades look good, and you look. And I was smart, but I didn't give a fuck. I talk crazy to the teachers. They hated me and said I had a bad attitude. It wasn't until I got to college. I went to HBCU. Shout out to Dillon University in New Orleans.
Oh,
I
yeah.
went to HBCU. I got a scholarship to go there. Shout out to my counselor at Davidson University because she really, she went hard. She had me doing ACT. She had me apply for scholarships. That's how I got into college. And then in my HBCU, my teachers, all of them was black, and they was on my
Mm-hmm.
and they really instilled in me, I learned a lot about just, the whole Black history from my undergrad classes. From my, freshman classes, I learned a lot about Black history. And then, my accounting professor, Dr. Kimberly, bro, that lady was on my ass. She was like, oh, you ain't saying right, cut. You ain't looking right, cut. She used to, they used to be on my neck. And so I give it to fucking black men, black women, generation before me. Bro, HBCUs, dog, give it up to our HBCUs, because our HBCUs, that's what instilled it in me. They was like, hey, yo, you got a talent. They crafted me in my talent. They showed me what my skills were, and they said, hey, yo, you need to use this for your fucking community. And they skilled me, they gave me the education, they gave me the background so that I would have that understanding of what my real circumstances were. And hey, once I knew what the fuck I could do, they was like, and look, bitch, this is what the fuck you need to do. This what you need to be doing, don't be playing the fuck around. And I ain't gonna lie, when I first graduated from my HBCU, I went to work in corporate America. Cause they paid me a lot of money. I got paid more. That was a boy. I left out of college. They was like, you could work here. I went to Minnesota, straight out of college. They paid me more money than I had ever seen in my life, more money than my family ever seen in my life, cause my auntie still tell me today, girl, why you let that job? Why you let that job go? Boy, I'm so mad when I quit that job. But bro, I went to work in corporate finance. And as a black person, I felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm working in corporate finance. I done beat the system, you know what I'm saying? I'm building wealth for my people. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm up here, I'm doing it. And then Sandra Bland happened. Before Sandra Bland, so this was when all the black murders started happening in a real public way.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it started in 1990 with, who was that?
Rodney King.
Rodney King.
Rodney
Damn,
King.
I feel like it started then, but with the proliferation of social media and all that stuff. When I was a junior, that's when Trayvon Martin happened, my junior year in high school. And we watched that whole trial, me and my friends watched the whole trial.
Trayvon Martin.
Bro,
I think that's what got a lot of people
involved in this shit.
Involved in just
in
that
this
social climate. It was Trayvon Martin, it was the Tamir Rice, and it was the guy that got
Eric Gardner.
not him, but that was one of them. The one that made that movie about.
In New York.
No, out in LA or Oakland.
Yeah, no, in
What
LA.
was that, Grapevine Junction or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I told you I'm not good with that.
Yeah. But see, I ain't gonna blame you on that.
Yo, but I know
But so many of those happen right behind each other that it kind of forced people to get active about stuff, because a lot of that was in. It made
public
society. They were so close in those.
With that shit, yo, this is actually fucking happening. And even though it was happening in the 90s, social media was so prevalent at that time. It was bro, y'all see this shit, and this is something that one of my professors had told me. It's bro, you can appeal to popular mass with black death and black devastation at the same time. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. Because that's what happened when we saw Trayvon Martin. We was like, it was my junior year. We set up, my junior year into my senior year, we set up and we watched Trayvon Martin. We watched the whole motherfucking trial. And bro, we couldn't fucking believe they let Zimmerman off that shit. Like, I'm talking about, bear that shit brought so many fucking emotions. But that's what I'm saying, like, and that's what they had been, that's like, it was a real, like, they had taught us this through these whole 4 years. Like, bro, you can't appeal to white tears to expect them to feel bad about your black fucking pain because they don't give a fuck.
They don't.
And that's what made that shit real. It's like they don't care. It don't matter what we do as black people. We can come to them with all this civil justice, all this bullshit. They don't give a fuck until it comes to the motherfucking economics. Bitch, put that shit in paper.
They don't even feel it unless there's money involved.
And so bam, I went to Minnesota. It was Sandra Bland happened after Trayvon Martin. It was Trayvon Martin. It was somebody else that happened. I think it was it wasn't Michael Moore. It was Michael somebody else that happened before Sandra Bland happened.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. In St. Louis.
Yeah, the dude who got shot.
Yeah.
Bam. And I was like no. So bam, and then it was Sandra Bland, and my coworker was like, I don't understand why you're so mad. And I was like,
no need to ask. No need to ask what race your coworker was.
I was the only black woman in my cohort. So I got pulled into a cohort of 8 people into my corporate finance program straight out of college. I was the only black woman. I was one out of 2 women. The other woman was black. The other woman was white. So bam, I was the only black woman. When that happened, nigga was like, I don't understand. And then the woman who was in my department, she was a white woman. And she was like, I don't understand, because they in Minneapolis, I'm talking about they was turned up, and I appreciate that shit. Because like in Minneapolis, and when I was living in New Orleans for 4 years when I was in college, like New Orleans was turned up against the charter systems in New Orleans. Because see, when I was in New Orleans, it was right after Katrina. Because Katrina happened in 2005, and then I got to New Orleans in 2010. I graduated from high school in 2010. So it was 5 years after Katrina. They were still dealing with a lot of that shit. So I got there when a lot of stuff was still happening in the wake of Katrina.
Yeah.
Damn. So I was dealing with a lot of stuff, especially with the charter schools, because they was coming against the charter schools, which was, a lot in the black communities, and they was bam, bam. So anyway, boom. I got to Minneapolis, and all this shit was happening with the black people getting murdered on camera, all this shit. And this white woman in my department after Sandra Bland, I'm talking about Minneapolis turned up. Downtown Minneapolis, they protested out through the fucking streets. And I was like loving being in Minneapolis at that time. And the white woman was like, I don't understand why they're protesting. And I was like, what do you mean you know what happened? She was like, no, we know what happened. And I was like, so bitch, y'all don't give a fuck. I was like, oh my God, like, they just don't give a fuck, bro. And then at the same time, I'm like, this shit happened in Minneapolis. This shit was happening in Mobile. Like, none of this stuff was happening in Alabama. So that's what really pulled me back to Mobile, because I was like, where is all of this happening in Mobile? But like, Minneapolis was turned. At Sandra Bland,
George Floyd.
No, it was Michael.
It wasn't that?
It was Michael something. Before Michael Moore. Michael Moore was in Mobile, but before Michael Moore, it was something.
It was somebody else?
Yeah, it was Michael Moore. In Florida, with Zimmerman. No, that was
that's Trayvon Martin.
Well, boom, boom, boom. It was after that, it was a Michael that happened. Maybe it was in St. Louis.
It was in St. Louis.
Yeah, well, it was Michael. I don't remember his last name.
I can't remember his last name.
And then it was Sandra Bland, and that shit all happened between me being in New Orleans and Minneapolis. And the people in Minneapolis, I'm talking about on the ground, I was in protest, and I was with my daughter. She was like 1 year old. We was walking through the streets. Walking through the streets of downtown Minneapolis, and the people in my department and in the corporate places was like, we don't know what the fuck y'all doing, because they was like, yeah, we know what happened, but fuck. And so that's why I was like, fuck this shit. And I came back to Alabama after like 2 years in Minneapolis. I came back to Mobile. And when I came back to Mobile, it was Michael Moore. And that's how I got pulled into the social justice movement in Mobile for real. Because when I got back here, it was Michael Moore in 2016. And I'm like, bro, I just seen this shit in Minneapolis with Tasia Bland and all this other shit. So bam, that's how I got involved in all the stuff happening here. And I started going to all the city council meetings, all the county commission meetings.
That's
and then bam, that's how I got pulled in to shit with Michael Moore. And it was doing the tournaments, and we was protesting at the police precincts, and that's how I met a lot of my friends, who are my friends to this day, and they done moved all over to Birmingham and different places, but we all are really deep in the social justice movement. So I feel like, yes, first of all, arts and culture is the kind of the nucleus. Like, bro, people have to have that inspiration. They have to have that education. Like, something has to give them that upliftment into their experience. Because even though, okay, like I said, we're all experiencing the same shit, music is the thing that really inspires people, that really connects people. Because, like, I can go back to music that I was listening to in 05 and 04, and I just reminisce about those times. And so, like, music is really the connector for a lot of people. And it's also the thing that really pushes people. Like I said, when the NWAs and the early movements of hip hop, it was really radical. It was really radical. Like, so, like, people were experiencing their experiences through music, and it was really giving them that voice that they didn't feel like they had. And it was giving them the inspiration to say things that they didn't feel like they had the capacity to do and to say. And then you had a lot of people in that whole era, like the Ellas and the people, like, they were, and the poets and the artists, like, they were doing the arts, but they were also a part of the movement. And so people felt like, these people are speaking for me, they're speaking to me, and look what the fuck they doing. So this is what I need to be doing. So you had people who were speaking to you and who were exemplifying also what I need to do. And they were able to realize so much, like, material, like, in these days, like they were able to materialize those efforts into real bills being passed. The whole 64 civil rights era, and to this day they're trying to chop away at that shit. Like, so you can't say, like, that shit was real power. And, like, for people, like, that's what we're fighting for, is power. People who are involved in the social justice movement, like, we're just trying to really gain power for the masses of people.
That's why they always say, if black folks ever come together,
and
they'll see how much power we have.
Yeah.
And that's what they're afraid of.
And that's what was happening in that period of time. You had the culture that was speaking to the people. You had the artists who were not just speaking to people, who were showing up, who were doing the things. And then you had them paired with the civil rights movement, all the people who were in the movement, behind the movement. Because you had people who were playing behind the scenes. And, like, the artists was like the, you know, they were in the scenes, but you had a lot of people who were orchestrating things behind the scenes. But all of that took us to being able to pass historic bills. And policy and bills and economics are the real things that create the material, realistic things for us as people on the ground. Taxes, us having legislation, us having, like, all of those things are things that are a result of policy. And it takes policy because we live in a system that is governed from policy. Right. Oh, yeah. We have to be able to elect. That's why people fought so hard for us to have the right to vote. Because we need representation. and representation results in policy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't get policy if we don't have people in place that are fighting for us. So, bam, like, we need representation. We need people on the ground that's gonna fight for us to have representation, and we need people in representation that's gonna fight for policies that actually affect us. And all of that is a chasm. And I think arts and culture is a big part in that, because that's one thing that relates to the masses of
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You
Did I bring it home?
You lit
Did I
today.
bring it
You lit today.
She was scared at first.
I was putting it to it. Yeah. Mic her up. Yeah. Because everybody got something to say.
Right.
You know, and I'm gonna bring it even more closer to home with the culture. Everybody got their own story to tell. That goes back to what you were saying about, are you telling your truth or are you telling the truth? There's a difference between the two. And that's a real responsibility in being a storyteller or a griot. You know, some of our great grandparents had that role, you know what I'm saying? That you know, as far as like the system in our own communities, the head, the general, sergeant at arms, things of that nature and stuff, you know. The meaning of neighborhood and brotherhood and all that. Every neighbor watch each other's yard. You know, while we was out, I'm gonna go watch your house. You know, most of us went to the same churches and everything. Most of us got the same friends who had the same children, you know.
Yep.
So
once you got rid of all of that, that's the only reason why you got the hood. Because
I'm
you don't
bringing
took
us
the
to
name out
the
of it.
church because they divided us. Once they saw how we were bringing it all together, because honestly, it was all of the people coming together.
Yeah.
Between the elders, the churches,
Yes.
the artists,
Yes.
the young people were
Yes.
being pulled into, like, you got your role, like you're either a griot, you're a storyteller, you're an elder in the community,
Or you're a
you are a
builder,
minister, you're
a
part of the religious community. You are part of the artist community, like, and that's a part of like the storytellers and things. And so bam, all of that got dissected. And so and that's how the opposition moves. Every time we realize an advancement, once we get a win, they learn us really well, and that's what we don't do well. Like, we be all in our shit, like we do our shit really well, but we don't study the opposition well enough to where we're able to counter. Like, they counter us really well. Because once we did our whole movement, they broke that shit the fuck down. They dissected all the churches. Now every church is on their own block. They don't get involved in the community because we got our 401c3 and we can't get involved in the politics, and no, we don't do none of this. And bro, everybody is all dissected. They chopped their legs off to all of our leaders. So bam, everybody's, like I said, everybody I talk to, they scared to die. They I ain't finna die. You know, like Malcolm.
Yeah, if it do me like Malcolm.
They killed all of our leaders. So it's like, who do we have to bring down the reins? Like, who do we have to pass down those transitions? Because they chopped that out from us. Even from when we came over in slave ships, they took all of our languages. They beat all of that shit out of us. Don't talk about the Orishas and all of your original ancestors and peoples. Because no, we don't kill you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they literally have learned how to brutally beat that shit the fuck out of us to where we have to rely on their systems. And so, bam, what are we left with? And if we don't have no way to recuperate our own systems and mechanisms of doing things, then we're reliant upon the people who are oppressing us. And that's where we are. That's where we are in present day. We're relying on the people who oppress us, and we don't have the means. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the spirit. Because they broke us the fuck down. And how do we build that back up? Through arts. Through the culture. We need the music. We need the sound.
We need the visuals.
We need that to give us that spirit to keep on going. Because I feel like that's what kept our ancestors going in times of slavery, in times when they were in servitude. It was the spirituals. It was the songs. It was the, the women who had the witchcrafts and all the herbs and shit. You go see the sister with the herbs, and you go talk to the brother with the goddamn, the spirit, the hymns.
That's why we need people like
you go talk to your griot, and you go talk to your sister with the herbs. And that's how you get back to who you are as a people. And we won't have it no more.
What's happening, y'all? What's happening?
It's been chopped up from us. And we so disconnected. Because even the people like the artists, we're really the storytellers. We're the griots. The people who are now the artists, we're really what the griots are supposed to be. But we so disconnected. It's like, that's why do I tell my story? Do I tell the story? We so individualized. It's like I'm focused on my story, but my story is a part of a bigger story. And we don't have the bigger story because we've been chopped off at our ankles from what that story is supposed to be. Because we don't have the griots. We don't have the witchcraft ladies no more because they done told us that was witchcraft. And then they burnt them at the stake.
It's the work. It's the work of the devil.
They burnt them at. Look, it wouldn't happen no more. Yeah. But I feel like the arts and the culture is a part of that whole system. Like the griots, the witches, all of those. Like we are living embodiments of those, but we're not in tune with those deeper systems. So we can't bring that whole what the vibe is supposed to bring. The vibe ain't vibing. The vibe ain't vibing like it's supposed to vibe. But it's really supposed to vibe deeper. Like really, music used to really vibe with your spirit. Like the drumming and the things was a part of your whole body and your spirit. But we don't have that anymore because we're disconnected. But it still does that. But the lyrics that you hear don't connect you.
It's of a negative vibe.
Because the opposition has learned how to turn the things that were working for us into exactly.
Right. Like I don't really rock with a lot of the rap from today's artists today, but I do listen. And what I was speaking on is like they coming from a area of desperation. They all talking about their lives. They all talk about spiritual warfare and stuff like that. But it's like, I'm in this. You know how you can hear, you can vibe out to somebody and be like, all right, this music ain't for me. But if you listen to their lyrics and whatnot,
thank you.
They're saying some things like, the devil is over me or whatnot, and
they've learned how
trying to drag me down.
Our because our vibration, we are peoples of our spiritual and our people. Vibrations. So they've learned how to turn our vibrations into negative into positive. Whereas the things that we used to speak to were uplifting to our vibrations. They've learned how to take those things and drown us as a people. And we speak a lot of, in these days, we talk a lot about fear. We talk a lot about fear and threats and things instead of uplifting things. And so it's like when you're constantly talking about fear, people are gonna live in a spirit of that. Fear. They're gonna live in that vibration. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of things are based in sound. A lot of things are based in sound. And so when we're living in a vibration in the spirit of fear, that's gonna be the outcome. So we have to really learn to create sounds and things that uplift our spirits into more uplifting vibes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's it for my I done said a lot. This is a whole hello.
You needed that. You needed that tonight.
Right.
Yeah, you needed that. Everything you said needed to be said.
Ooh, that shot.
Yeah. Felt like you was above sea level or something like that. Your ears popping.
Made my ear pop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we really appreciate this conversation.
For sure.
Oh yeah, y'all can
Oh, okay, yeah. Shout out to Zeta Bull giving us, giving us directions. Ladies first, Ari.
follow me on Facebook, REEMC. For all my political, if you're interested in that, in the social political area, you can follow me, Arianna MacArthur. And on Facebook, I am MacArthur the Mogul.
That's hard. Ain't nobody else told you that. That's hard. Curtis Metcalf, host of Fresh on My Fresh podcast. Y'all can jump on that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere podcasts is on, and follow me on Twitter, Curtis_Metcalf1.
Yes, sir. And this live from Bama Backyard.
Live from Bama Backyard.
I'm Djsnoop. Thanks to my special guest tonight. And we're going to end it like this.
Thank you for having us here, man.
Thank you so much. It was such a rich conversation. I love y'all guys.
We needed this. We needed this.
Oh,
for sure.
This is my girl, though. I love this song.